We have bought a new house. We haven't gotten it yet, but we have seen it when we bought it, but we haven't seen it empty. So there's going to be surprises. Yes, we know it's going to be surprises. There is no doubt. Even then, we have done this little plan over what we expect to do. But one thing that's not going to be a surprise, the heating, the radiators, they will be built and designed and sized for the furnaces of the time when the house was built, 61. We now have an air-to-water heat pump in it. Most likely, it's forced to have too much temperature just to heat the house. So we're going to have to exchange the radiators. We are currently in the cellar of our old house. This radiator here, it didn't exist when we bought the house. But we did the same thing as we plan to do now in the new house. We exchanged the number of radiators to bigger radiators. To do that, we had to buy some bigger radiators. That meant that we get some extra. So in the end, we added some extra radiators, 2 of them in the cellar, like this one. So it's actually an old radiator, but in a very new placement. And this little plan is about what we expect to do. There's going to be surprises, so we're going to have to change a lot. But in general, we know that we want to do things with the garden. We know that we want to do things with the floors, sanding them, maybe changing some. With the walls, with the roof, painting it, maybe some more. With the doors and the windows, normally sanding and painting. We want to change the alarm. There is an old alarm in it, but we want a newer alarm in it. And then we have the other side of it. The other side of it is things that are needed either to make it positive for a new buyer when we are old, when we have to move out of the house. For example, electricity. We need to get grounded contacts more than what there is. There is basically no grounded contacts more than in the kitchen and some few places. We need to have some residual current protection, and we need to have electricity that is more than 6 amperes. Currently there are 6 ampere breakers, and well, it's not enough for a vacuum, it's not enough for a strong hairdryer, it's not enough if you do 2 things at the same time. So we need to step it up to 10 amperes. And then, since we know that we're going to have to sell it sooner or later, we want a separate tracking of heating and air circulation and so on, so that we can prove to the new buyer, as well as to governments with regulations like EU, that it is as efficient as we say it is. And to improve that, we need, of course, insulation. We need to find where are the cold spots, and then find the heat leaks. Prioritize which of them that are the important ones and do something about them. Since the house is old, we also know that the radiators were sized for a very, very different kind of furnace. The house currently has an air-to-water heat pump. But when it was built, the furnaces, they were oil furnaces, and they had a very much higher temperature than is good for an air-to-water heat pump. So we need to find what radiators is giving up first, which are the radiators forcing the air-to-water heat pump to have a very high forward temperature, and then exchange them to larger radiators so that we can drive the temperatures down needed by the air-to-water heat pump. And doing that, it gets more efficient. An air-to-water heat pump is more efficient the lower temperature you force it to create and keep. That means that we need to figure out which they are, but when we've done that, we need to actually buy new radiators that are bigger, exchange the old to the new. And when we've done that a couple of times, we're going to have a couple of radiators extra. And then we have to figure out where should we put them? Where will it be most beneficial? And on top of that, going the other direction, to get the air good inside, we need to have electric fans venting the air out. And we need to figure out where we want those vents, and then drill holes through the walls to install them. That will cost some extra, but it will be a lot better air. So that is our plan. Then let's see what happens. We don't know yet, but soon we're gonna have the house. Now we are on Mibnet, my old website, text-based. It talks about exchanging radiators. It's quite easy. The thing is understanding what to do, and the information was not very easy to find. So it tells a little about the old radiators. Why would you do it? And if we look at old radiators, in my case they were a duplex, they were Rex. You might have different ones. The key thing is looking at how they were once sized is the important one. You can see the power in this channel if you have an old oil heater with a high forward temperature. 600 watts in this case for 10 sections, 450 millimeter long. If you go to air to water heat pump, you don't want to be at 75 degrees temperature. You want to be much lower. If we say 55 to 45, that is at least reasonable for an air to water heat pump. Then we find that the very same radiator gives half the power out. Half, 315 instead of 600. That's why when you change to air to water heat pump, the old radiators is not going to be good for the house. It's going to be half the heating. How do you get from these 315 back to the 600? Well, if you look in this one, you find 600 here, and then you have 20 sections, 900 millimeters. That is double the size. So basically, to go to an air-to-water heat pump and make it efficient, you should at least double the size of the radiators. Well, I selected something else, module from Epicon. They are different radiators. Why? Because they were wider and having more area per length, so I can get more heat of it. It's not very hard to do the changes. If we look in this one, I have described how to connect old pipes to new pipes, copper, how to get the thermostat in, which can be easy, can be hard, where to cut the pipes when you remove the radiator, and how to come past the fact that there are different standards in sizes. We talk about inches and we talk about millimeters. These are actually mixing it up, because that you need to do with the pipes. That is exchanging radiators. You can add new radiators as well. This is a radiator I have added down in the cellar, and you can see the pipes coming from above. Why? Well, there were no pipes in the floor level, so what I had to do was to find a good place in the heat pipe that we had, cutting it, threading it, adding a T-connector, which means I get water out without disturbing the water going through, or at least not disturbing it too much, and then getting two pipes, which are the pipes going down to the radiator. So there is a lot of text about it in this website. Could be good to look at least if you are out to do the same as I did, exchanging and adding radiators.